Hello, I'm Sam Ceccola, HPE's DoD's Chief Technologist and a Senior Distinguished Technologist with the company. I'm here today with John Shirley. John's the VP of Product Management for Private Cloud and GreenLake Flex. Welcome, John.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I think really exciting time to be here, and especially talking with you about the topic of data sovereignty. And there's just a whole bunch of great things about what HPE brings to the table. And just to set a little context, I'm new to the company,
Okay.
just a couple months in. But what I've noticed is we've had awesome technology and great products, especially when it comes to data sovereignty being disconnected. But you're the expert in the area, so why don't you talk to me about what our customers are seeing?
Well, I think it's important to understand what HPE's done. We've taken our GreenLake SaaS environment and we brought it down completely on premise, disconnected from any commercial internet or any commercial network. This allows us to deliver an air-gapped solution with not just data sovereignty, but in the customer's data center. And especially for customers that I serve in the Department of Defense, where we place things outside the continental United States on sovereign US soil, where this data cannot be um, integrated in with any foreign entity. That data sovereignty is key to delivering and supporting, in the case of the U.S. Department of Defense, the mission across the globe.
Awesome. Okay. So, with your work in the area, what do you see as HPE's differentiated approach?
So we are providing the only 100% disconnected NIST compliant cloud. And that in itself is an important message. Because if you look at NIST Special Publication 800-145, which is the way NIST defines a cloud, we meet all those requirements. Furthermore, by bringing it on premise, we are not subject to FedRAMP certification like our commercial hyperscaler partners are.
Mhm.
We are governed by a different accreditation process, but it makes a smoother implementation and a smoother integration in with the customer's environment.
Excellent. No, it's I know you're focused on the DoD and especially on the U.S. side of things. What we're seeing across the globe is very similar requirements, and what you just said resonates very, very well for our European customers and our customers in Asia and just across the globe. And yeah, we're seeing the same type of customers requiring to be disconnected and pulling those workloads back on-prem and keeping them really safe and secure.
I think furthermore to that, it's not just government, right? Critical infrastructure, financial services, anybody that wants to have that secure environment that is not concerned about hacking one of our hyperscaler partners,
Right.
but is actually controlling the perimeter of the environment and securing it, they feel a little safer with their data. So, critical infrastructure, financial services, even folks that don't want to give business to the hyperscalers because they may be competitors with them,
Right.
are critical partners for this.
So the security part, major aspect of it, but it's complex. It can be very difficult. So, like in your experience working with their customers, how have we simplified their environment?
Well, from a security perspective, I think there's two big things that the customers are looking for and that HPE's delivering. The first is we're able to create the controls, the documentation to support their security certification
Mhm.
before it ships in the factory. So this, going back to NIST, this is a set of NIST 853 controls, which are the same controls that do govern FedRAMP, but they're treated differently. And we create that documentation to a 70, 80% line before even the product even ships. But the other important thing today is the implementation of zero trust.
Yeah.
Zero trust is a big talk topic in the government and across the industry. And customers are struggling with how do I retrofit my current environment to zero trust? And what they're recognizing is they can refresh their environment into a GreenLake solution and not have to worry about bolting it on, but having it built in.
Awesome.
What are you seeing across the globe in similar situations?
Similar situation. Yeah. When we're looking, especially, let's just take our friends in the European Union. There's a whole bunch of new regulations that are forming And one of the core differences, there's a common structure that's applied actually across what we see in the US and around the globe, a common framework, but each region has their own fundamental requirements. And so at HPE, we're really working hard to go and solve each one of those use cases. The good part is our common framework that we have, especially with the integration of GreenLake, what we have from an ops ramp and Morpheus, all of that together is making it easy for us to adapt to those countries' sovereign requirements and be able to make sure that we can not only apply the rules, but we can show our friends in the IT organizations that we've met the compliance rules and we can actually operate in those environments.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think if you look at the way we've approached it, it is not a one size fits all
Yeah, that's right.
solution. And what that means for our customers is a very competitive price performance ratio of what we're delivering. Because it's not a one size fits all, they're not, one size fits all I look at is it's good enough for a lot of people,
That's
but
right.
not great for anybody.
That's right.
And therefore you're either paying for something you don't need or it's not performing the way you expect it
Couldn't
to.
agree more.
So that purpose-built environments are critical, not just for data sovereignty, but for delivery of workloads.
Yeah, and I'll take that idea of it's not one size fits all, and I'll expand on that a little bit. We have a lot of data sovereign requirements around new AI use cases. So our
Yeah.
private cloud for AI fits very well into a data sovereign environment for customers who want to run and train models, and especially run the inference models locally in a sovereign use case. But then we also have environments where we are fully managed, right, in our private cloud, our PC 7000,
Yeah.
formerly called Private Cloud Enterprise. It's a fully managed service from HPE to the customers to run virtual machines and containers. And because not one size fits all, that's where HPE as a service comes in, and we can solve those unique needs for our customers.
Yeah, and I think the way the U.S. government has approached it is they look at us as the cloud service provider, and they look at themselves as the managed service provider.
That's great.
So having that line of delineation of who does what is very important to the success of delivery. I think back on the PCI front, I mean, that's a great example of the way we've t-shirt sized the different environments.
Yes.
And having sovereign AI for a government customer, again, overseas, not just solves a sovereignty problem, but puts the AI workload closer to where the data is being collected, closer to the drones, closer to the satellites. The data coming into what we call the AOR to the fight and making that decision time a lot quicker for them versus round tripping it somewhere back to a data center in the United States.
Yeah. And especially if you look at, all right, we have a digital circuit breaker. All right, the internet connectivity shuts off.
Right.
You need to still be able to operate those environments, especially if you have mission critical agents running in those. They have to keep running.
When our customer talks about it all the time, and of course we talk about it with them, is what happens when there's a bad day. And that could mean something like the fiber getting cut between Hawaii and San Diego. That environment in Hawaii better be able to operate autonomously without having a connection back to the United States.
Absolutely.
And again, Hawaii is obviously not any concern about sovereign because it is U.S. soil,
Right.
but it could be Japan and the United States.
That's right.
And I think furthermore, when you pull that forward even further, having the t-shirt sizing, either whether it's on an AI workload or a general purpose workload, and being able, we have this term in the government called DDIL, which means disconnected and intermittent latency. So think of something going on a Navy ship that loses communication when it goes, a submarine, when it goes underwater.
Yeah.
So it's got to be able to operate autonomously, and having those t-shirt sizes help get fitted into what we call swap optimized, size, weight, and power optimized environments, whether it be a ship, an aircraft, or a satellite.
That's great. That's great. I have one more question for you before we wrap up, which is this. If you could say one thing to our current customers or really future customers about digital data sovereignty moving forward, what would that be, and how would they get prepared? What would that be?
Well, I think first, you got to get ahead of the game. Yeah, there's never 100% right answer. It's about partnering with HPE to figure out what right looks for you, and making sure you are one step ahead of your competition or your adversary is the important way to look at things.
Excellent. This was a very fun conversation, so appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Great talking to you.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you.